All right, time for our Dare Group message recap. And we talked about baptism this week because that's where we're reading at. But we also got to see people get baptized, which was an amazing thing. And we saw people go into the water, be buried with Christ, and then raised to new life, painting that picture. And we talked about Jesus and his baptism and how at Jesus' baptism, something very significant happened where the Father says, "This is my Son in whom I'm well pleased." And in that is revealed his identity as the Son, but it's also tied with our identity, that before Jesus did any miracles, before he did anything noteworthy, the Father said he's well pleased. And we also learned in that that's what our identity is. Our identity is in God before there are any titles, before there are any accolades or anything we could do to earn it. That at the waters of baptism, we exchanged our identity for Christ's identity, and now we've become a son or a daughter of God, and that's enough. And so baptism, we learned, is a sign of the new covenant. We're not born into it like the old covenant, but we believe into it. We're called to be born again. And we also know that it's the first act of a new believer is to follow in baptism, because Jesus commanded us to do that, but also was the example for us to do that. And so baptism paints this picture on the outside, what's happened to us on the inside. And it's also this proclamation that says we believe in Jesus. It's this testimony that our life has been changed. And it paints this picture of being buried with Christ and raised to new life, so that we leave our old life in the water and we come up new. It's a beautiful, beautiful picture. We also learned that it's more than just a picture. It's more than just something we are to do as we follow Jesus, but it's also prophetic, because it's painting this idea, or prophetically speaking towards this idea, that one day we literally will be raised from the dead like Jesus. That God's going to take this body and he's going to make it new again. He's retoving the world. He's retove our bodies even, which is an amazing thing. And so as part of your Dare Group conversation, I just want to throw out some things. I think it'd be cool if you have been baptized to tell your baptism story. What was that like? Or maybe you haven't been baptized yet. What are some of those reasons why, or what are you wrestling with there? And then also we touched on some things that are ongoing things, even though we've been, you get baptized when you're saved or when you start to follow Jesus. But there's some things that we need to hit on even throughout even our daily life that touch back to this baptismal identity. And one of them is we got to remind ourselves that we left our old life in the water. So are there things in your life where you find you have to keep going back to the water and letting go? But we have been crucified with Christ. I don't have a right to be offended if Jesus isn't. I don't have the right to not love people if Jesus loves them, because I've exchanged my life for his. So are there areas like that you find are challenging? The other thing we talked about that we could touch on really every day of our life is that a new life is on the other side of faith obedience. Just like we go into the water and coming out of that faith obedience, we walk into a brand new life. The same is true with every faith obedience. And so are there some faith obediences in your life that have produced that new life that you could share a story there? Or maybe there's some that you still have to take. And so that's the Dare Group recap. Baptism was an awesome thing. It's a beautiful picture of what it's like to be buried with Christ and raised to new life. Discuss that among your Dare Group. It's going to be an awesome time. I believe that God has some big things ahead, and as we look ahead, we're going to see even more of what he wants to do. But just as baptism is a first step, I believe we're getting ready to see a lot of first steps in faith obedience, and a lot of great things are ahead. So that's your Dare Group recap.